Capital PTBO Sports Show, an MNC podcast production, simulcast on your TV, Peterborough, Lindsay. You can come and find us at 370 George Street North or online anytime at thecapitalptbo.ca. We have a lot to cover today, including what is the best possible World Cup final? Are the Chiefs still the best team in the NFL? And Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens get passed over again. All of that, plus Mitch Marner continues to roll. And we'll tell you about a very special interview that we have coming up on the program next week. Let's welcome into the conversation Mark Million and producer Matty, who, as I understand it, is now getting recognized around the town. Is that what I hear?
Yeah,
at the gym?
At the YMCA, yes. Balsillie branch, if we want to get really specific. A guy stopped me in the change room and said, "Hey, are you a podcaster?" I said, "That's the most affectionate way you could have said it, sir, yes." And he complained about the Petes for about 10 minutes, and he wants us to get head coach Rob Wilson in here to give him the business.
Find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Is that right?
He's not happy with the team. I mean, they went 0-3 last week.
He wants us to give a guy like Rob Wilson the business?
Rob Wilson, I'm a big guy. Rob Wilson towers over me. Like, he's about 6'3", 6'4", and I've seen the guy's fighting videos.
Yeah, right. The guy can throw them.
Yeah, I'm just telling him, all right, I get it, coach. It's a rough patch.
I'll jump in here just with a hypothetical educated guess that you could probably guess the hair color of the man who stopped Latour in the change room and asked if he was a podcaster. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. The guy's not using his own hair color. He's coloring it himself, or it's gray.
Or it's actually not there.
It's not there.
This man was like stone cold bald.
Yes. Telly Savalas. We should do that. Let's table that for another episode. Best bald looks. Because some guys rock it really well.
Bruce Willis,
but I feel like Bruce has that, like, he has that Caesar ring, right? Like, there's some guys that there hasn't been a hair on it in 30 years. Telly Savalas. Easy. Telly Savalas was like the ultimate. And also because he was a bad dude.
Once upon a time in Radioland, Jordan and I debated Peterborough's sexiest bald man.
I know. I listened to it.
You were in the segment. We mentioned you.
I know. But the fact that
Who did we go with, Stu?
Wolf Lawyers.
Wolf Lawyers got a lot of votes. Stu Harrison got a lot of votes, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, one man who does have hair is our good friend Brian Goldfinger over at Goldfinger Personal Injury Law. This show is not possible without the help of Brian. Brian dedicates his practice exclusively on behalf of accident victims, disability claimants, and their families. He is a plaintiff personal injury lawyer through and through. He does not accept work on behalf of insurance companies. He also knows a thing or two about the Raptors and the NBA, as he demonstrated on last week's episode. If ever you're hurt or have any questions, you can give him a call at 877-730-1777. That number again, 877-730-1777. Visit goldfingerpersonalinjurylaw.com. Also, a salute to our loyal army of Patreon supporters at patreon.com/capitalptbo. As we do each and every episode, we start by spinning the wheel of Win Nothing.
Jim Murray's got to be stopped.
Honestly.
This guy is, like, we use the term wagon a lot on this show.
Yeah.
It's causing me grief here at the store. I'm getting other Patreon members that are now coming in and saying, what's the deal? How come the guy continues to win? I tell them, I don't know. Anyways, let's try to get somebody else a win this week, Latour.
All right, let's give it a spin.
Let's give it a spin. See what's happening.
The wheel of Win Nothing is spinning, and it is stopping on Maurice Cormier.
Wow.
Maurice, the Rocket. The Rocket, true story, in here today. He said, I loved your segment last week with Goldfinger. You're talking about the starter jackets. I have one. I said, get out of here. I said, is it the one that's got the kangaroo pouch in the front? He says, no. It's satin, Montreal Canadiens, pockets in the side, dome buttons. He says, I still wear it every once in a while. I went to a Montreal Canadiens game last year. I put it on with my Rocket Richard jersey. He says he's going to wear it in one of these weeks. And when he does, we're going to snap a picture and we're going to throw it right on the show.
We need a picture of that one, yeah.
Correct.
I was doing some looking for some merchandise for the Christmas season, and I was flipping around to various websites and whatever, and I was just getting an idea because, of course, we're going to spend our money local. But when I was looking around, it was amazing how some of these 90s workouts, when the NBA teams would go on the court and they'd wear like sort of their workout.
Yeah.
It's amazing what some of those are going for.
Absolutely.
It is back, baby.
It is back in a huge, huge way. Anything. Like we're almost at the point. You've almost watered it down now. Every faction of, any sort of semblance of 1990s that you can bring back is coming back, except for one. And I'm not at liberty to discuss it yet.
Wow.
But one day I'm going to let you behind the curtain. It's coming, and it's going to be beautiful.
Well, Matt, you talked about it off the top of the show because there was a gentleman who cornered you in, was it the workout room?
In the change room.
In the change room. You always love that.
A little worse. And let me tell you, just for the viewers at home, very little clothing on this man. It was an awkward conversation.
So what's his take on the Petes? What's your take on the Petes? What's going on with the Petes?
This man wants, I don't know if he wants Rob Wilson fired or just on the hot seat. He's not. So if you don't follow the Petes, they went 0-3 last week.
Yes.
Starting with the Teddy Bear Toss game against Flint here in Peterborough.
Which Mark and I were in the Sandbagger standing room.
Absolutely, we were.
And then
we invited guests.
It ends with a Sunday loss in Ottawa to the 67s, a game in which we got a goaltender fight.
We did.
Yeah, full 12-man brawl.
Also, Rob Wilson, Dave Cameron, beaking at each other.
Yeah.
I need a coach fight, and I need Rob Wilson in one.
Dave Cameron doesn't.
No.
I can guarantee he doesn't want any part of old Robbie.
Davey doesn't look like he can swing like some of the other ones.
I don't think so.
So this guy's unhappy with the Petes.
Yeah.
And I mean, understandably so. An 0-3 week is not good when you're battling for, one of the top spots in the Eastern Conference.
Not for a team that's supposed to be as talented as Peterborough and is as talented as Peterborough. I don't know. You know what? Sometimes chemistry is a funny thing, and you might add a better player, but it takes a while to get everything up to speed the way that it was. And, Othman, very good, very talented player, far and away, somebody who can score, and we've seen him do that. I just wonder, he comes in, then Robertson moves to the second line, and, maybe it's just an adjustment period. I don't know. Mojo seems to be gone.
Personally, I don't think there's anything about it's only 3 games. Just easy. And I can appreciate it. I mean, nobody likes I don't know what it is about North Bay either. North Bay's bitten them 3 times. I'm not sure.
They're 18-8. They're a good hockey team.
They're a good hockey team, but so is this Petes team.
Yeah, the Petes are a lot better than the 13-11-3 that they are.
You look at some of those results that are in the 11. Flint's a good club. New Brunswick. North Bay is a good club. Ottawa obviously is a wagon. Mm-hmm. And here they've sniped them twice. So it can't always be, the Petes do have a way sometimes, like every club, like a lot of clubs do. They have a tendency to play down to the competition.
It sounds like you subscribe to the theory that I heard Mike Babcock say once when people were saying, well, what's wrong with the team? What's wrong with the team? He said, well, the other team's trying to win too. And sometimes they do.
Sure.
And you're right. Those are 3 very good teams. There's no glaring, eye-popping loss in that. You never like to see that you get shut out at home.
Sure.
That wasn't a good one. Going on the road was going to be difficult. I know, just like almost every team in the Ontario Hockey League and every workplace probably in Ontario, you're battling a little bit of somebody's in, some less than 100%. You got a flu bug going around. So I think there's a little bit of that. But you know what? They hit a bit of a snag. There's 5 games left before they hit the break.
Right.
I think the break is coming at the right time for this squad.
And they're still, as we record this, 3rd in the Eastern Conference.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Considering they lost 5 of 6.
Yeah.
They've had back-to-back losing weekends. Sure. A couple of those ones hurt. Oshawa sucks. And to get beat a couple Saturday nights ago, 8-2, or Friday night or whatever it was. So, for me, there's no red alert yet. I think there's going to be some guys have to find their level. I think one guy that's come out of that is Chase Stillman. I think bringing Othman in has maybe made a little bit less reliant on Chase because he is having, by anybody's standards, and I'm sure even the kids' standards, that he's not having a great year. Then he comes in, he pours 4 in a couple of weeks ago, and now I think he's at 9 or 10. The Petes they'll be okay. They're a lot better than that 13-11 record, and I know everybody would say the same thing.
Yep.
Just a tough couple of weeks to run into. It's going to happen. You're better off to get those out of the way now.
I got one gripe, just with the OHL.
Yeah.
Why does your standing page have overtime losses and shootout losses? Like, I don't care that the Petes are 13-11, 1-2. They're 13-11-3 because those losses are worth the exact same. It's completely unrelated. I don't like it.
That's a Gary Bettman thing, right?
No, because
Bettman on his watch put those in overtime losses and shootout losses.
They
and
just
all
go
these
by
things.
the 3 columns in the NHL.
What?
For the standings.
Are you sure?
There's no way.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I'm looking at them right now.
Well, you're on the wrong side.
You're on some knockoff Chinese site.
Or the NHL has they reverse course on it, but that was a thing.
Was it? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it.
I mentioned that we did go to the game. Mark, your opinion of the inter-game experience at the Memorial Center. Was that the first game you went to this year?
First game I've been to at the Mem Center this year. A noted improvement. I sat in the restaurant I was very fortunate. A good friend of mine, Pat McCauley, Howie and I would go and sit in the restaurant, and it's a who's who in there. Every realtor on the planet's in there, so you can tell real estate market's good.
Dave Dixon was
Dave Dixon from IG Wealth, Kenny Barrick sitting behind me. It's a regular who's who in there. Steve Larmer, of course. But we sat in the sandbar. It's in its infancy. It's in its early days, and the one thing I do like about it is that we have something like that. I think that there's like anything, there's areas where that can be improved. But I like the idea, and I like the concept, and some of the in-game stuff was good. The first period game, or the first period, what do you call those?
Just pushing people on a saucer.
Yeah, pushing people on a saucer. That was a bit lame.
Somebody just quit halfway through it, and it was like, oh, okay.
And I think that's okay, isn't it? Isn't it okay to be critical of that?
It's something I would do. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because if somebody was to watch our show and they wanted to be critical of our show, I would actually welcome that. Yeah.
We invite it.
What can we do better? So, all in all, the in-game experience was good. Good crowd, 3,100 on Thursday night. It's time for Peterborough to support the Petes. Mike Oak is trying. This Petes club is trying. 100%. They're not wasting time. They're going out and picking up these stud guys, like Othman as an example. It's time to get behind them.
Matty, good steak sandwich at the restaurant, too.
Oh. Is there?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we go down this road?
Yeah.
Golden Wheel.
Oh,
can we go there or not?
Are you going to complain about the Golden Wheel?
Yeah, I am. Okay.
Like the Golden Wheel as an idea?
Okay, no.
Or like the Golden Wheel you had?
Okay, listen. Restaurant people, Compass, it's third party, whatever you... Okay, listen. Mercier and I go down there. Mercier's going to grab himself some dinner. Fine, I grab a ginger ale. He's got himself a Diet Coke. Everything's fine. Can we get a menu? Sure. Had great service. She was terrific. Fine. We're looking over the menu. Steak Sandy, steak sandwich with fries, $15. A cheese pizza's $27? What are you doing?
I mean, I paid $10 for a beer when I went a couple weeks ago.
If
I want to be surprised.
If anybody was outraged by $27 cheese wheel,
you can walk into, I'm going to say, just about any pizzeria in the city of Peterborough and grab a large cheese pizza for $10.
A tenner,
maybe 11,
maybe 12. If
inflation,
it's
whatever.
27. And when you got a steak sandwich for 15. So
I opted for the
what
steak
are we
sandwich.
doing here?
See, I thought your gripe was with just the cheese wheel in general. Like the concept of it.
It was the concept of laying out 27 to get one.
You can get a good pizza delivered for that price.
So the cool thing about so we're recording this on Tuesday. By the time this airs right now in the Memorial Center lobby, I'm going to be there with my daughter. First hockey game.
Terrific.
Been talking about it for about a week.
Yes.
Super excited. More so excited to be sitting there and eating popcorn past her bedtime.
Yes.
Than actually going to the game. I'm just curious about how long she's into it.
Yeah.
She's definitely going to be satisfied with people watching for a good chunk.
Yeah.
If we make it through the second period, I'd be thrilled. That would be a win for me.
She's going to be sitting there, look up at the TV and see you complaining about the pizza price.
Yeah. Well, you want to have?
Daddy, I want a piece.
Yeah. No, not at this price, honey. I remember we did that one time. Took the 4 kids, me and the 4 kids, and Kaylee was out by the second period, just out cold, and the rest of the kids, you could tell, looking everywhere but the Cole was into it. My son was into it, but I think we did. I think we exited stage right at the second period.
So my first ever hockey game was one of those old timer games.
Yes.
You're Steve Shutt.
Well, but that's a great idea because it's all theatrics. Except when I found out it was staged, like the sparks coming out of the skates and everything. It was like when I learned wrestling was fake.
Exploding
I
pucks.
was heartbroken. So that kind of crushed my spirits. But yeah, I went to plenty of OHL games after that.
But I remember going to one of those and some guy, like the gimmick referee, comes on, like climbs the glass. And, sacks himself. And it is like a circus, like for sure.
It's like the Globetrotters, but they're just older.
Actually, funny story. I had the opportunity one time at what is now the Tribune's Community Center in Oshawa. I had a chance to go on and do the PA work for the. Whatever. And I got invited out to go for dinner afterwards.
Okay.
And I had the opportunity, not like having dinner with him, but there was some good players like Billy Smith and Eric Lindros and Daniel Marois.
Yeah, Danny Marois, Mike Watt's favorite hockey player.
But it was a lot of fun. I was like, Eric Lindros, really? He's such a star, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially around that area.
Sure.
So that was a lot of fun. But speaking of the National Hockey League, the Toronto Maple Leafs, a lot of good going on. For some reason, having difficulty in overtime.
Yeah.
Just one of those things as a Red Wing admirer, even when they were in their peak where you'd be like, oh, Datsuk and Zetterberg and Lidstrom. For some reason, they were never very good in overtime either and lost in a lot of shootouts. So I just look at that as a little bit of an oddity. You get to the playoffs, it's no longer a 3-on-3 overtime. So I'm not sure. You take it a little bit with a grain of salt. But a lot of talk about Mitch Marner this week.
Yes.
Because he now stands alone, beating a record that was held by Daryl Sittler and Ed Olczyk in terms of a point streak. And the point streak, to me, it's similar to a hitting streak in baseball where there's just an element of randomness to it.
Sure.
You get that one assist that maybe you didn't deserve.
It was
you get the empty
assist.
netter,
Sure.
that blah, blah, blah. Because you would think Doug Gilmour, 92-93, 127 points, you figure he would have thrown up, an 18-19 game streak. But no, that's not the case.
No.
And very few, we saw Patrick Kane get to 26. That's sort of the best since the year 2000.
Yeah.
But to string together this consistently has just been super impressive. And I think Mitch Marner, I always thought the world of him. I thought he was a great hockey player. But it's just something like this that kind of puts him maybe even further on the map.
Mitch, for me, has been the straw that stirs the drink there in Toronto. Matthews, obviously, is the gunner. But, Mitchell, the way that he kills the penalty, which, is deadly, he scores in the 19th game to set the record on a shorthanded and then again on the power play. The one thing that is surprising is you get to that sort of streak of that amount of games, and I think it's 19 games and 23 points. It's not like I listened to it on the radio that night, and Jimmy Ralph talks about
it's not 2 a game.
It's not 2 a game.
Yeah.
Like Wayne getting 51,
and getting like 100 and
he had
points.
163 points in the 51 games. That's a good season for anyone else on earth. But good for Mitch. This is not to say that he was always capable of this, because you're rarefied air at 19 straight, but the kid's got it. He's a beauty. He's it's good for Toronto. Before losing to Tampa Bay, they'd won 7-0-3 in the last 10. Nobody's talking about Barry Trotz now.
No.
He returned his apartment.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jason Robertson was also on a very impressive
Holy
point streak,
smokes.
leading the league in goals as we record this.
Yeah.
Somebody who is very much in the thick of the Hart Trophy conversation at this point, because the Dallas Stars are also first in their division. So there's a lot of team success going on there as well.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to watch Jason Robertson very closely when he was with the Kingston Frontenacs. He had some, comments about Nick Robertson and sort of, hey, you know what, this guy's going to get with it. I think he's the, quote, hardest working player in that organization, end quote.
Yeah.
Just a brother star going to bat for his brother, and
Sure.
it's all going to work out for him. But, talk about a kid who's on a roll right now. Anytime you can put up the amount of almost a goal per game to this point in the season is super impressive.
And he bet on himself, right?
Yeah.
Slow start in training camp because he wasn't there, because they were, hammering out a contract. And, here the kid comes out of the gate and he's got 22 to start the season.
23.
23 to start the season.
What's impressive to me is he's got 41 points.
Sure.
Like, he's not a guy that's got 23 goals and 32 points.
Yeah.
Like, he's putting up assists too.
And that Stars team, they signed Rupi Hintz. They just gave him an 8-year deal. Like, those are two kids that they're going to build around in the same way that the previous decade they did with Ben and Sagan. They've also got young goaltending. The Dallas Stars are going to be a club that are going to be they're going to be a handful for a long time. But it's nice to see when a kid like Robertson, he and if his brother's got it. Holy smokes, he'd be a dynamic duo for the NHL.
Boston Bruins finally lose at home in a shootout to the Vegas Golden Knights, 14 in a row to start the season. That was National Hockey League record. Matt, could you bring up on the Magic Box? I want to say in a season, the record for consecutive home wins is 22 or 23, and I've got a good personal story to accompany that stat if you do end up finding it. But that was a bit of a heartbreak for Boston, too, because they rallied from 3-0 down to come back and see if they could prolong it.
To start a season?
No, just in general.
The record for an NHL undefeated streak at home is held by the 76-77 Montreal Canadiens at 34.
Give me wins. So that would have, there's probably a tie in there. Anytime they say undefeated streak, it would probably include a tie.
2011-12 Red Wings, 23.
Okay. So 23. I get tickets from my now wife for Christmas that we are going to see a game in, I want to say early January. So I'm watching as the Red Wings keep winning in this streak. It keeps going. It eventually gets snapped. And by the way, that's a very pedestrian Red Wing team. Joey McDonald, he's in nets.
Oh, wow. Former Peterborough Petes.
Yeah, you got Bertuzzi. Like, it's not that great Red Wing team. It just was a string of luck. And what ended up happening was the game, I think it was like the night before we were going to watch Colorado, they blew a late lead and lost to Vancouver in a shootout. So I had the opportunity to go and just, ironically, and the tickets were bought like months in advance, but as I'm watching the lead up to this, it was pretty good. So there was my little story.
Joey McDonald, Detroit.
And then Ty Conklin playing 15 games for him that year.
See, but isn't that always the way with those sorts of streaks? The number one goes down. And they throw it together. Patrick Lalime, Ottawa. Same idea.
I mean, to echo my point about randomness, objectively, most people would suggest that the 1927 New York Yankees are the greatest team in baseball history. They won 110 games when they only played 154.
Yeah.
They never had a winning streak of more than 9 games throughout the season.
That's right.
And yet, the random Oakland A's the one year win 20 in a row.
That's right. It's just the way it is.
Just the way that it
happens.
World Cup. Surprising. Exciting. I've been enjoying it, especially the knockout stage.
The knockout stage has been worth every penny. It really has.
My question for you is, what would you say right now, as we record on Tuesday, is the best possible matchup for the final?
Initially, I would say Brazil and France.
Star power all over.
Star power and young star power everywhere.
Yep.
That would be the primary difference. Where you could there would be a lot you could set the stage to with those two there. I feel like a team like Argentina, I think the Messi question would be, I think it's already been played out. I think people are kind of relegated to the fact that they don't have the strongest club. Portugal, based on what they did this week, beating Switzerland 6-1.
Look good.
Again, devoid of Ronaldo is more drama now than star power. So I would have to say it would be Brazil and France for me.
I think if you can get Messi versus Ronaldo for the World Cup, that's the matchup. That's like we never got LeBron Kobe in the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
it's different though at the world level, right? And maybe to your point,
I look at like
maybe
these guys,
having the generational talents head to head for 1v1 for the gold.
Not even generational. You can argue these are the two greatest soccer players to ever play the sport. Like you look at any record.
Oh, I think Pele wants to have a word.
Pele does, but you look at any record and it's one of these two guys.
Franz Beckenbauer.
Yeah, whatever.
Easy, big fella. He doesn't want to have a word. Like Pele wants to have a word. Probably Diego. Very, very short amount of time.
The original Ronaldo.
Yeah.
But like you look at the numbers. I texted Jordan about this.
The original Ronaldo.
I texted Jordan about this on the weekend. Messi just played his 1,000th game and has 789 goals.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's insane. And Ronaldo has just about every club goal record you can ask for.
Fair?
And the most international goals ever.
Okay, bring it on, because I've had this in my group chat. Because I approach soccer conversations similar to other sports where I say, okay, can you be the greatest if you've never got it done and won the sport's most coveted championship? And they say, yeah, soccer's a little bit different. It's once every 4 years. There's a lot that goes into it that I don't think that's totally the de facto. And then I sit back and I go, okay, now Messi's playing in his 4th World Cup, Ronaldo in his 5th.
Yeah.
When I look at the overall totality of the stats, I think they both have 10 goals in like 23, 24 games, which kind of not super. And then I look at someone like the original Ronaldo with Brazil.
Sure.
Or I look at, Just Fontaine had 13 in one tournament, or some of these other guys where I'm like, it's almost like they've missed a marquee. Like, there should have been one World Cup where they just went off for like 6 or 7 goals. Because Argentina's been in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Portugal maybe not as much, but they've
Argentina certainly has.
Argentina has.
They made it to a final. The other day, Messi scored. It was the first time he had ever scored in the knockout stage.
Yeah,
that was the surprising stat to me. There's guys that a lot of guys score in bunches.
That's what I mean.
Both of these guys are like that. I look at a guy like Kylian Mbappe on France.
Yes.
He scores 2 goals and a half last week.
He's a killer.
Awesome.
Yeah, like there's a lot of really young guys that I think are just goal-scoring machines. Messi, I think he's a team guy. I know he scores a lot, but I think he's more of a team guy.
That would be the argument that kept coming back at me, is that he does a lot more than maybe some of the other great players did in their day. But it's an interesting, and there's a lot of people right now say, sign me up, Messi is the greatest of all time. And when you're talking greatest, I just feel like you got to put the hair under the microscope a little bit more.
Yeah.
And even if you don't think World Cup, like, oh my God, it has to happen, when you're comparing him against peers who have won 1 or 2, or in Pele cases 3, that's got to matter a little bit.
The World Cup is a different animal because it is every 4 years and these sorts of things, but nobody thinks that Wayne's accolades are any different because he didn't win an Olympic gold as a player. But it was very limited, and certainly late in his career, that sort of thing was offered. If he had gone to the Olympic Games in 1988 in Calgary,
forget about it.
Forget it. It would have been hair on fire. It would have been brutal. So I think to answer your soccer question, I think absolutely you can. I think in the same way the guys who play in the NBA, I think it's a very, very valid question.
I just look at it because soccer, throughout the course of 1 year, you can win a lot more trophies than just one NBA championship. Like, you've got your league trophy, you've got the Euros every 4 years, or the Copa Americas.
Yeah.
You've got Champions League that you're entered in. You got UEFA Super League. Like, there's so many different accolades these guys can rack up between 2 different World Cups.
That's very true, and that changes the argument, so I just throw it out there as a food for thought. Now, by the way, my matchup would be Brazil versus England.
Oh.
I think anytime you get the English in the
final. I would love the English in the final.
Ooh. That's rowdy.
I know. I think the best soccer matchup would be France-Brazil. Rematch in 98.
Yeah.
I think that would be, but I think something about England wiggling in there, have them once in 66.
We might be disrespecting the Dutch a bit, because the Dutch are always strong, and they're always like one of those teams.
There is a bridesmaid aspect.
The Minnesota Vikings, Buffalo Bills, Netherlands team. I did want to, I'm not sure if you guys had this observation, but when it comes to penalty kicks, which I know are polarizing, but that's just the way soccer's played. There's penalty kicks at the end. Is it something about the data tracking that has made goaltenders much more competitive in penalty kicks than ever before? It seems in my memory, when I was a younger lad, like, if you had 5 penalty kicks, you were going to score at least 4, and maybe 1 you hit the post.
Yes.
Like, there was really not going to be much in the way of saves.
Yeah.
What we saw from the Moroccan goaltender, what we saw from the Croatian goaltender, I mean, it must be that they've run through a computer 1,000 times and said, okay, this guy's going to kick here, this guy's going to kick there.
Yeah.
I just find penalty kicks more compelling now because I actually go in thinking, oh, the goalie might make a save or 2.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's a good spot to be in.
I think I agree. Part of it, too, is I think goalies are a lot more athletic now.
Bigger?
They're bigger. Like
jump faster.
You look Courtois in Belgium. Like, he stopped Davies on that penalty kick. That guy's 6'7".
Yeah.
Guys are bigger. They're faster. They're more explosive. I think that plays a big factor. Because I know, like, in the NHL, obviously, what a guy's tendencies are in the shootout. In the World Cup, after you've just played in penalty kick case 150 minutes of soccer or 120 minutes of soccer,
That's fair.
You see a guy walking up, sometimes they don't even have the number on the front of their shirt. You might not know who it is.
Don't you just get up there and drill it? Don't you just get up there
Morocco scored 2 straight up the middle.
Straight up the middle.
The cheeky up the middle one that would look terrible if you get stopped.
Yeah, it honestly would. Some of these other guys I watch, Croatia, Japan, the guy from Croatia, the one stop that the goaltender did make for Japan.
Oh, the third shooter.
Holy!
He walked up to the ball to shoot it.
I could have kicked it harder than that. Like, don't you just get up there and label one? And there must be a reason why they don't go upstairs, like the Roberto Baggio, putting it over the bar type thing is horrendous.
I'm glad you brought this up.
You brought this up at the Olympics last summer.
I'm glad you brought this up. If you're a professional soccer player and you are somebody who has elite enough skill to be tapped to be one of the 5 people, you've probably kicked 10,000 of those. Mm-hmm. If you hit it firm in the top corner, they can't save it.
Correct.
They literally cannot save it if you hit it firm in the top corner.
Yeah.
And I feel like you should be able to do that 95 times out of 100. I guess it's the other 5 that you don't get to.
Sure. But play the law of averages.
Part of that must be because goalies are getting taller.
I don't
we've seen some crazy saves where guys are just swinging their hand up.
I get it, but I think there's a spot where with some sort of pace, they can't get it.
That has to be true. Has to be true.
Neymar, if you're listening, you get to PKs in your next matchup.
Jonathan David, let's go.
Yeah. I run up full speed and just boot it straight up the middle. Because that goalie's jumping one way or another.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I see it.
There's no guessing aspect to it, is there? Or sorry, no way that it's not guessing.
No, yeah, it totally is.
It totally is. You can't stand on the line and wait to see which way this foot's going to go, but then you go.
Well,
it's not possible.
This is what I think the advanced scouting, and maybe I could be wrong, but I think they look at it and say, we know this guy through various tournaments or whatever he's done. He has 15 to his name, and 11 of them have gone low to the right, so you're going to jump low to the right.
Right.
And the run-up can tell you a lot, too. If they're coming at an angle, there's a good shot that they're shooting whatever angle that came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's tougher to angle it the other way.
Well, this is the conclusion of every 4 years we pretend to know a lot about soccer.
Correct.
I sounded like I knew what I was talking about.
I watch soccer regularly.
I'm just saying, I sounded like Franz Beckenbauer. You weren't expecting that.
I really wasn't.
Gerd Müller, like those old West German players.
I'm still not expecting that.
What's the sad trombone? Oh, there it is.
Beckenbauer. What a name. George Best. Are the Kansas City Chiefs still who you think are going to the Super Bowl as your favorite team? No. Or are we learning something about the Cincinnati Bengals that we maybe didn't appreciate? Yes, we've got the Buffalo Bills still betting line favorite. But looking back at the victory for Cincinnati over Kansas City, that's a team that poses some matchup issues for Kansas City if they do meet in the playoffs. We saw it in the conference title game. What they were able to do in the second half of that game, they sort of mirrored it a little bit. I didn't think Mahomes looked great, and he was trying to throw, I thought, deep too much almost.
Yeah.
But Cincinnati is a team that, were they 0-2 to start? Like I had them and the Rams almost completely reversed. It was like, okay, the Rams are going to be there. The Bengals are going to take a huge step back. Boy, was I wrong.
And Burrow, and it kind of does make sense. They start out tough. They're 0-2. Burrow has the appendectomy. They've had a couple of injuries. Their wide receiver core is for real. The chase is unbelievable. T. Higgins is terrific as well. There's something about Burrow, and maybe there's too much put onto it. And I realize that it is a hot take league, that NFL for sure, and you want to be quick to crown guys early on, or dethrone guys early on. But it seems like the teams that compete get better at the end. They don't run the table. They don't worry about how many times have you seen Tom in September lay an egg only to see him playing football in February? Mm-hmm. Joe, Kansas City, this team's for real, but they're not. It's not a guarantee. There's going to be some ball games to be had in that first week of the AFC playoffs, and whoever gets the bye is really going to have an advantage. That's going to be key. And I hope it's neither of those two teams that we mentioned.
Philadelphia Eagles continue to impress.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts.
150 on the ground?
Woo.
And AJ Green, you knew that, AJ Green, Tennessee gave him up. You knew he was going to, this is a calendar circler. Like, he's going to want, and he had an okay game. But Hurts, you can't defend that kind of athleticism. You can contain it, but you can't defend it. You can't stop that. I mean, his average per carry was, what do you have, 12 carries, 150 yards? Holy crap. Like, there's no way to be able to, as many rushing quarterbacks have shown you. Generally not here for a long time.
Yeah, but a good time.
But a good time, certainly.
Looking down the line for them, they got the Bears, the Giants twice, the Cowboys. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they lose maybe 1-2 more. Like maybe.
Then who's the
they
other
go
one in
14-3?
They have the Saints in there.
Yeah, Saints is forget it. Giants will be an interesting one. Again, I can't be sure on the Giants. Smoke and mirrors.
Baseball news for you. How about this? Aaron Judge.
Whoa.
Flees the New York Yankees to go to the coast. Now, he is from San Francisco. I read an article where he wrote in his yearbook that he always dreamed to play for the Giants. Maybe it makes sense. What are the figures on this? Because this is almost like breaking as we are recording this show.
$360 million is what's rumored.
That's nice. I think he'll find that his power numbers won't be quite the same playing in
2040.
The NL West. Just the NL West in general, except for Colorado. I mean, those are pitchers' parks. Petco, what used to be Pac Bell, and Dodger Stadium. Generally speaking, those tend to favor the pitchers a little bit. But this is a big splash for the San Francisco Giants, who have been, they had their run, they had their dynasty, and now they're looking to kind of lock and load again.
So how about this?
Yeah.
For another twist in the Aaron Judge. John Heyman, who originally was the person before we went to record.
Oh, no. Are you pulling a backer?
Sets off a firestorm with a premature Aaron Judge to the Giants report.
No.
John Heyman has since deleted the tweet.
Ouch.
So the offer is there. It was reported to be $360 million. And John Heyman has since deleted the tweet, which happened about 45 minutes ago. So if he was to go to San Francisco, holy smokes, you're going to renew. It'll be a contract that aged horribly.
Yeah.
There was no way. The Yankees are trying to avoid it. And I know he was mad. I watched the interview he did where he said, he was upset about the numbers going public. And he realizes that that's a negotiating tactic, and that's Cashman in the Yankees sort of way. And the Yankees are trying to avoid paying him a contract that's going to age really badly. He doesn't have a great injury history. He's hit 60 once, which, I mean, nobody's hit 60 twice except for
Let's just say he won't have the year that he had again.
No, he will not.
A lot of big moves so far, like
Verlander,
Cody Bellinger to the Cubs. That's official. The Jays were in on him.
Well, Cody to the Cubs?
That's half an hour ago as of recording this.
Holy smokes.
Verlander
got $86 million.
Teaming up with Scherzer, the what could have been on the Detroit Tigers.
And Trey Turner signed somewhere big?
Philadelphia for $300 million.
11-year deal, too.
11-year deal. So they take Soto's money off the books. They got Harper, and now they're going to put Turner's a nice ball player, sure.
Yeah, he is.
But going back to this thing, like DeGrom leaving and going to Texas, that'll age poorly, too, because the guy's he's played no more than 15 games a year for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
When he throws, he's a subhuman ERA. It's 1.9. It's like Bob Gibson-esque.
But when is the important word?
But when? And Arlington is it's not very forgiving for a pitcher.
I mean,
not very forgiving.
The American League isn't.
No, but I mean, AL West is okay. DeGrom will go out there and dominate when he throws. But jeepers, find me a year where he threw over 200 innings.
Wouldn't exist.
And for that kind of money, whoa.
How about this? We talked about this on the show a few weeks ago. Let's continue the baseball conversation. I'm digging it. Baseball in December.
Yeah.
Former Toronto Blue Jay, the crime dog,
yes,
Fred McGriff, elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame on the Players Committee. Is it called the Veterans Committee? Some committee.
Some committee.
That's not the regular voting media.
Now, if we were to go back into the Capital PTBO Sports Show vault, I think you would find that one Jordan Mercier predicted that Fred would be the guy to get in.
The crime dog.
I had Fred and I had Dale Murphy, who did not.
Correct. Dale Murphy. I'm glad for Fred. Whose cap does he wear?
This is maybe the most intriguing conversation that you could have that I remember. So Maddox goes in with a blank hat.
Yeah.
Because he was, 100 and something, 50 wins for the Cubs, 200 for the Braves, and it's all well and good.
Yeah.
Fred McGriff played 5 years for the Blue Jays, led the league in homers once.
Yeah.
That's who he came up with.
Mm-hmm.
He played 5 years for the Atlanta Braves, 3-time All-Star, won his only World Series. And then he played 5 years for his hometown Tampa Bay Rays when he was their first All-Star.
Yeah.
Just peculiar that you'd have these 5-year, and he led the league in home runs when he played with San Diego.
Did you hear what he ended his press conference with?
Okay, Blue Jays.
Okay, Blue Jays, let's play ball.
I think he's going in a J. That's the way I look at that.
Here's where, because I've had a few people say that. First of all, that happened at the very beginning of his career before he was an established household name. He did lead the league in home runs back when 36 was enough to do it.
Yeah.
The other thing about the Jays, it's hard for me to say that he's a Hall of Fame Blue Jay because they traded him and they got better by getting rid of him.
He was a sacrificial lamb.
He was good player who went to San Diego with Tony Fernandez for Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
An unbelievable deal.
Unbelievable deal. But nobody was ever saying oh boy, that was a mistake. That never occurred to anyway. I think it's Atlanta just because he had the most high profile run. They were in the World Series.
Wow.
He won the World Series, was on the 96 team that won the pennant, 3 of his All-Stars. But he had 30 home run seasons with 5 different teams because he also had a random one when he was a corpse with the Cubs in 2002. Just comes out of nowhere and hits 30 home runs when he's 38.
Yeah.
It also just ticks you off when someone finishes with 493 home runs.
I know. That's a tough one.
Someone give him a contract. Let him get back in there.
You think the Canine to Criminal can still get 7? He's got to hit 7. That's a lot.
It always bothered me because Andres Galarraga retired with 399.
That's right, 399.
I think Al Kaline did too.
Is it Mike Modano? Something like that too?
1499 for games played.
Yeah.
Because Babcock sat him.
The most satisfying is Lanny McDonald.
Yeah, that's the perfect story.
500.
Yeah.
Right on the line.
Greatest baseball nicknames.
Oh.
Crime Dog is in there.
For sure. And it's high up the list.
Now, I was reading a little bit of the backstory. I don't know if it came exclusively from Chris Berman, but it was a playoff McGriff, right?
Correct.
And so it was just there, and then McGriff kind of sounds like McGriff, and you're the crime dog.
Because McGriff was the crime dog, right? Take a bite out of crime.
I mean, my favorite's the Big Hurt.
So I put this down. Anything big. So Big Hurt, Big Unit, Big Cat, Big Poppy. All good.
All good.
All very good.
Cool Papa Bell.
Cool Papa Bell.
It's got a few years on it, yeah. Cool Papa Bell does.
That's back in the day. They used to say he was so fast. He could hit the ball up the middle, and it would hit him on the backside, sliding into second. Right. That's what Cool Papa Bell used to say. I got Mr. October.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson. Donnie Baseball, who did not make it to the Hall.
Donnie Baseball, for sure.
I love that nickname.
Beautiful.
The Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig.
Yeah.
Could also go Iron Man, Cal Ripken. I don't know if he was actually called Iron Man.
No, he wasn't.
No. No one was like, coming up to the plate, here's Iron Man.
Here's the Iron Man. No.
That would be cool, though.
Sure.
The Splendid Splinter.
I love it.
Ted Williams.
Yeah, beautiful.
Kind of a little different vibe because he was something of a violent man, but the Georgia Peach, Ty Cobb.
Yeah, which is surprising, and maybe that was the play on words. Was because he was so,
peachy.
He was so poisonous.
The Mad Hungarian.
Yeah, Al Herbrodsky.
I got Charlie Hustle.
There's a guy there that lived his name. Right?
Pete Rose.
Ask Ray Fosse.
The Bird.
Mark Fidrich. And this is a guy that, he's a wife swapper. He had a real life. No, you read that. No, they did in the 70s. Yeah, Mark Fidrich lived a life.
The Say Hey Kid.
No, beautiful. Yeah.
Willie Mays.
Yeah. Commits 1 error in 10 years, 2 in 15.
Hammer and Hank.
Yeah.
Now we could go, the original Hammer and Hank is Hank Greenberg.
That's right.
The first, Jewish megastar of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And then you could also go, of course, Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
Hammer and Hank Aaron. The Yankee Clipper, Joe DiMaggio.
Joe. Beautiful.
And we could just spend time, but Babe.
Yeah, the Babe is...
The Babe.
That's it.
Yogi Berra. Come on.
Yogi, I do like, yeah. And I mean, his influence of pop culture, the Doc, and whether
Doc's been used
whether you go
times,
Gooden or Holiday, but, Doc Holiday was, for Roy Halladay.
I always liked the Bringer of Rain. Like, that just seems so cool to me.
Yeah.
You guys don't like that one?
Nah.
Oh, I was all in.
I think it's cool, but again,
I think
for me to acknowledge a nickname, you actually have to be referred to as that. You know what I mean?
I feel like with social media, he was a lot.
I guess. Joey Bats. So that's a different, that's a
good
better,
one.
Yeah.
it's a better nickname.
Joey Bats. Something that's polarizing, too. Like for a guy like Joey Bats, it's kind of a play on the Batista. It wasn't the fact that he was a 300 hitter, because he certainly wasn't.
What about the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Yeah,
Or Aldous Chapman.
No, see, it's too much. There's
way
too
too
many
much.
words.
But it's cool.
Spaceman, Bill Lee.
Yeah, Bill Lee, sure.
But
the guy
Babe,
who lived it.
like Babe, so they used to all, back in the sports writer days, they used to try and invent nicknames for him. So we all know the Bambino. And then there was the Sultan of SWAT,
Yes.
the King of Cram, the Maharaja of MASH.
Yeah.
Like everyone tried to invent their own one. So
Yeah.
I like Babe.
But the Salt and the SWAT, too.
Yeah. Let's do. Oh, I like this. Should we get to Record Machine? We're having such a good show. We're coming up.
We're
near the
flying
end,
through here, yeah.
Record Machine.
Give it to me.
Record Machine.
We're going to focus solely on National Hockey League defensemen. Here's your 3 records. So Record Machine, for the first-time viewers, is we throw out 3 sporting records, and we decide which of these would be the hardest to break. And all of them are extremely hard to break.
Yeah.
All right. Your first choice, Raymond Bourque, 410 career goals as a defenseman. Only defenseman ever to get to 400.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Coffey, we're talking point streaks, a 28-game point streak as a defenseman. And Robert Gordon Orr, 139 points in a season as a defenseman. Those are hard. Those are all very hard.
Yeah.
I think.
Little context for the Ray Bourque career goals. The active leader is Shea Weber, 224. Like, you're not even in a screaming. Someone like Erik Karlsson, I think he's at about 150. Like, you're so far away.
I think Ray Bourque is still the most likely to be broken.
Like, some Brent Burns type comes up and starts scoring 30 every year.
Like a Cale Makar, maybe. He's young. He might be the guy to do it. Like that guy scores like crazy.
Oh, jeepers, that's a lot of points. That's a lot of goals to put on the board.
Only one's ever done it. And you think we've lived through, we'd have to say this with fairly certain conjecture. We've lived through the highest scoring era we'll ever see, which is the 80s.
Very much.
1980s. So for Ray Bourque to be the only one to surface through that and get to 400, I think that's difficult. I'm going to give you my one that I think is the most likely to be broken, is actually the point streak.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody limps into an assist here and there. Maybe it's you get 34 points in 28 games. You're just throwing it. And look, I think he's the only defenseman ever to get to 20. I don't think, like, Bobby Orr didn't even get to 20, which is amazing. So, but we talked about the element of randomness with streaks. I could see that where somebody comes up and just gets some second assists and limps along. Maybe 31 points in 28 games. I can tell you that's probably the most likely for me.
We just talked about Patrick Kane having the only good one since 2000 with 26.
Yeah.
I don't think any defenseman's getting 28.
Go ahead and finish your thought.
Bobby Orr getting 139 points is ridiculous.
Forget about it.
Until I watched Connor McDavid, I didn't think, not a defenseman, I didn't think a player was going to get 139 points again. And we haven't had a 100-point defenseman since Brian Leach in the early 90s,
Yeah,
30
that's
years
right.
ago. Roman Josi comes close at 96.
Yeah.
That's pretty difficult to break.
Yeah.
That's going to be very difficult to break.
Bob's number, I just checked it because I knew it was something wild. Like, in Bob's third year in the league, he put 64 on the board. The next year, he puts 120.
Yeah.
And that wasn't enough. Then he puts 139 on the board at 22 years old, 23 years old.
Right when you think people would start catching on to him,
just keeps going in.
He changes the question.
I think Paul Coffey's is the easiest to break because I think in a day and an age where the QB on the power play will always be the defenseman, the shots from the point, the ability to add the assists. In a Cale Makar type era where Colorado could have such a wagon of power play, 28%, 30% consistency of scoring, I think it's possible that you could put 28 together. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say Ray Borks at 410 is the next most plausible. I think that in that scenario, if you have the longevity, you got to play for the right clubs. And Bork had a decade with the Bruins where they weren't that great.
Yeah.
You know, the 1980s Bruins, there's a couple of Stanley Cup finals mixed in, but it's really smoke and mirrors. If you look at a lot of those in-between years, they weren't very good. Where he was the main guy. But Orr to fire 139 on the board. A guy today, you don't have forwards that are hitting that.
No.
And to say that when Connor comes into his own, like he's getting that man strength about him, it's possible Connor could put 150, 160, 170 on the board. I think. Darnell Nurse won't.
No.
He won't be coming with them to do that.
Unless he's outlet passing Connor McDavid a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, Nurse is going to play 23, 24 minutes a night with Connor, and it's not going to be possible. So I think Bob's the toughest.
I think I go Bork, Coffey, Orr.
Bork, Coffey, Orr.
Like Bork's the easiest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I like that. Good discussion. That's how we do Record Machine here on the program. Final thought here. We're not going to have time for the Mono e Mono. We'll save Heisman Trophy winners, Matt. You can study it.
I might need to.
I was sad to read this. Mills Lane died.
Mills Lane.
America's Judge. So, Matt, you didn't really know who Mills Lane was.
No idea.
Zero clue. Wow. Mills Lane is known to a whole generation of people as a boxing ref. Mm-hmm. And he boxed he did box, but he also refereed some very marquee fights, including, as you brought up.
Stop. We have to edit it.
Oh.
It wasn't him.
Oh, it wasn't him doing the long count.
When Mercier came to the studio here today, he says Mills Lane died. And I said, oh my God, I hadn't heard that. I thought Mills Lane had refereed the Tyson-Buster Douglas fight.
Nope.
Not him.
No. A gentleman named Octavio Moran. Counted.
What was famous about that fight is Tyson knocks Douglas down. Tyson is convinced he was down for 13 seconds.
Correct.
Gets
the
up,
longest 8 count in history.
Then he ends up getting knocked out in that fight. Mills Lane was, though, the referee in Tyson Holyfield, the ear bites.
Correct. Sold his shirt that night. His shirt is covered in blood. Sold it to a local memorabilia dealer sitting ringside for an undisclosed amount of money.
Matt, some of us know Mills Lane as a TV judge.
Yes.
Do we have that?
I've got it. You want the theme song?
Yeah, so anyone out there, Judge Judy, Judge Joe Brown, Judge Greg Mathis, People's Courts, and then America's Judge, Mills Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
Wow.
It sounds nothing like today's courtroom dramas.
Get it on, he says. And the video, tell me I'm not wrong, like he's running up the stairs. He's playing on the boxing.
I played the video for it too, so anybody watching knows.
But a complete turnabout, like if you had 5 minutes to Wapner, if you had watched People's Court in the 80s.
Different flavor.
Dun dun dun. now entering the courtroom are today's litigants.
Yeah, like up until like 2015.
Right, but Lane is like he's like the next one in on that, right? And then they kind of go with this old like Heartland America sort of theme song.
How many episodes do you think?
For Mills Lane?
What did it run from? Like 91 to 2015?
No,
original release, 98 to 01.
Yeah, because he had a stroke in 02 and couldn't talk.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm going to say they did 154 shows.
Say 1,000.
It's not on Wikipedia. Give me a second.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, depending on how many, I guess maybe if you're shooting a couple times a week and you're seeing a couple of cases a day. Yeah, Mills Lane had a stroke, and then I guess they had done his in a celebrity deathmatch TV show. They had like voice dubbed his voice.
Oh,
yeah, they had dubbed it over, and I guess people didn't
not pleased about that.
They didn't like that. No.
See this: a passenger fell from a cruise ship. His name is James Michael Grimes. He's 28. Claims to have spent 20 hours treading water before being rescued.
What is you
I got questions.
Teased me with this one real quick before we turned the mics on. This guy saying he fell off like a big Alaskan cruise ship,
some sort of boat.
Where is he?
Gulf of Mexico.
Okay, so it's
temperature is not a problem.
Okay, wasn't there something too? Did you say that he was passed out in the water?
Yeah, he had been drinking and
fell off the boat.
Something's not adding up here.
Okay, now I just quickly read it before we went to air with it. Now, is he staying on the boat with someone? He says he's got to use the washroom, leaves the room, ends up in the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico, and treads water for 20 hours? What's this guy, part starfish?
Pretty impressive feat. This is like Michael Phelps.
Yeah,
I'm not buying it.
I'd like to see what Michael Phelps could tread for.
I saw a video this week of Steph Curry making 5 full court shots, and I found out that was fake.
Phony, yeah.
Oh.
I'm not believing this guy was treading water for. First off, the physical specimen you have to be to do that is one thing.
Okay, yeah.
But you've got jellyfish, you got sharks.
He said he had to fight off an ocean creature.
Yeah, he did.
Like, come on, give me a break.
Okay, so what's the rub? Why does he lie?
Fame.
Fame?
He wants the interview, yeah.
Because we're on a TV show in Peterborough, Ontario, talking about him.
That's got to be it.
Not by name.
Oh, I'll say him by name.
James Grimes.
Michael Grimes.
Jimmy Grimes.
Yeah.
Come on, Jimmy.
Anyways, that sort of jumped out to me, and I thought, I got to get the boys' opinion on that.
That's the worst.
Be an adult.
A lot of fun on this. You have been listening to the Capital PTBO Sports Show, an MNC podcast production, simulcast on your TV. Peterborough Lindsay. Check us out anytime. thecapitalptbo.ca. For Mark Million and producer Matty. Next week, Steve Larmer here on the show.
You got it.
Can't wait for it. You've been listening to the Capital PTBO Sports Show.